Assalamu alaikum students. This is your week 2 for engineering and professionalism course. Uh, just like last week, we were discussing safety and health and ethics about safety and health. But this week, we'll be starting the second part of the course. As you know, there are 3 parts of the course. First one is related to ethics. Second is related to environmental ethics and sustainability. So today in the first lecture, we'll be talking about environmental ethics for engineers. So what role engineers can play in the environment? First of all, what is environmental ethics and how engineers can improve environment and use sustainable development. Before we start, I want you to realize that this is an important part of the course. Let me just recap our CDF. As you know, in our CDF, let me just go back and open CDF for this course. So if you just open CDF, which is on your C online, you can see that environmental and sustainability, this is the second part of your course, one of the course objectives. We have already covered the ethical issues in engineering practice. So we are now on to the second part. And even our CLO2 in your OBE comprehend the impact of engineering practices for environmental protection and sustainable development using case studies. So this is what we're going to cover now, CLO2, which is mapped into CLO7. And if you go remember your CLO7 is environment and sustainability, an ability to understand the impact of professional engineering solutions in societal and environmental contexts and demonstrate knowledge of and need for sustainable development. So the next this week and the next week, these 2 weeks, will be covering environmental ethics and sustainability. Initially, we'll just talk about the environmental ethics, and then gradually what is sustainable development, and what are the religious perspectives, what engineers can do, what role engineers can play in the environment and sustainability. So this is what we'll go through. So this is important part. You must also remember that, you know, from your 12 PLOs, these PLOs like environmental and sustainability, ethics, these two are not covered in every course. Like, you know, the first 5 or 6 PLOs, that would in nearly every course covers these PLOs, like engineering knowledge, problem analysis, development solutions, investigation, but these 3 PLOs are specific to this course, and that's why this course was added. So this is important that you must attain the required level. So let's go back to our environmental ethics. What is environmental ethics and what are the basics? So this is let me just emphasize on the fact that ComSats from last year has also started a scheme called Clean and Green Pakistan. You know, it's actively playing its role. SA for Subs Pakistan. You can see the logo of ComStats University. Our rector, Professor Dr. Rahil Kamar, he started this in Islamabad. CUI moved to focus on Clean and Green Pakistan drive, where a cleaning drive was achieved in Islamabad. Following on his footsteps, I also arranged a clean and green drive last year with my previous students in the previous course. Let me just quickly show you some pictures just to motivate you guys. So if you can see, yeah. So if you can see that this was our clean and green drive. You can see me in the center. There are some students. These are FA17 students, your 1 year senior students. So we arranged this drive from the new lecture theatres from the N block to the Defence Road, and we did some, you can see students are doing the cleaning. There are some plastic bottles, plastic bags. All of them had made very lovely, beautiful chart papers to display. The drive was from the new lecture theatres to the Defence Road. Students actively participated. Each student brought a bag. You can see that black bag in the background. So they had to fill up this bag and throw it in the dustbin. So it was very nice effort. Unfortunately, this year we won't be able to do it because of the COVID-19 situation. But if it wasn't for that, we would have surely arranged this clean and green drive this year. I had also planned to plant some trees, but unfortunately we couldn't do it. So, but it's okay. We can still do it. I'll be probably giving you some assignments that you can still do this at your home and do it in your community. So this would be part of your assignment, the project assignment that I will be giving you, that I will discuss next week. So let's get back to our lecture for today. So this was just for the motivation, and so that you can understand why it is important. And then I will also discuss what role you as engineer can play in environmental ethics for engineers. Okay, so first of all, what is environmental ethics? Environmental ethics is the study of moral issues concerning the environment and moral perspectives, beliefs, or attitudes concerning those issues. So it's basically the issues concerning the environment. It's very simple. I mean, it's not a new thing. You all know it. You all know the issues with the environment. Okay, so it's just your perspective, your belief, and your attitude towards it. So if that attitude is good, your belief and perspective that it is important, then this becomes environmental ethics. Okay, so simple as that. So as a human being, as an educated human being, as a Muslim, because I'll be quoting some examples from Quran and Hadith, this becomes our objective, that environmental ethics is very important and it plays an important part in our life. Safai nisf iman hai. Ye jo nisf 50%, it is part of our iman and part of our religion. Okay, so engineers in the past are known for their negligence of environment in their activities. It has become important now that engineers design eco-friendly tools, machines, sustainable products, processes, and projects. So in the beginning, the 19th century, when it was the era of the coal engines and industrial age, engineers were just thinking about making new products, making engines, making things for the human being. But in that era, they really neglected the environment part of it. But now, very soon, it became clear that how we had polluted the whole planet, and it is an important part. So now, each and every product that is being designed by engineers, it is very important to consider the environmental and sustainable aspects of it. Okay, so I hope you understand this, that now whenever when you graduate from here, you go into the industry, anything you design, anything you make, you must consider the environmental ethics part of that design. Okay, these are essential now to ensure protection, safety of environment, prevent the degradation of environment, and slow down the exploitation of the natural resources so that the future generation can survive. So these three have become the important objectives, the essential part of every engineer. So whenever you will go industry, probably the industry is being regulated by the government, and the government ensures that each industry is being follows these parts, especially in the Western world. In the modern world, they're very strict about it. Although in our in the developing nations such as our country, people are also now realizing. Our Prime Minister Imran Khan, he's also emphasize that we should worry about the environment and design things that can improve the environment. Okay, the American Society of Civil Engineers, that we know what is ASCE, we discussed in previous lectures. Code of Ethics has specifically requires that engineers shall hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public, and shall strive to comply with the principles of sustainable development in the performance of professional duties. So it is their code. All those civil engineers, it is their code, it is part of them. What they have to do is that they have to comply with the principles of sustainable development. Okay, the term sustainable development emphasizes on the investment, orientation of technology, development, and functioning of organizations to meet the present needs of people, and at the same time ensuring the future generations to meet their needs. So environmental ethics is what we do now. Okay, and then sustainable development, sustainability is that whatever we do now affects our future generations. So if we protect the environment now, if we protect the natural resources now, then our future generations can sustain much better and have a much better life. So what we do today, we shall reap tomorrow. Okay. Compaq Computer Corporation, Compaq, just like IBM, this is a computer corporation, now merged with HP. It is now renowned as HP, Hewlett Packard, was the leader who exhibited their commitment to environmental health through implementation of the concept of design for environment. So they had this concept, they had this tagline, that whatever they're going to design, they're going to design for the environment. Okay. Whether it's expensive or not, or whatever they have to go, would need to go through, but they would design for the environment. Through implementation of the concept of design for the environment on their products, unified standards all over the world units, and giving priority to vendors with a record of environmental concerns. So this is how you can ensure that whenever you need to engage some vendors, your first priority should be that whether those vendors have a record of environmental concern or not. So this is how you can ensure in environment and sustainability. Okay, engineers as experimenters have certain duties towards environmental ethics, namely environmental impact assessment. One major but sure and unintended effect of technology is wastage and the resulting pollution of land, water, and air, and even space. Because just recently I was reading an article about space junk. I mean, you can't see it from here, but if you go in space, there's a hell lot of pollution in space, because due to those satellites and those things that sent up there, and there is no dustbin there. So it's just roaming around there, just circulating around there. So now it has become a huge problem, the space junk. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. Study how the industry and the technology affects the environment. So number one is environmental impact assessment. Okay. Number two, establish standards. Study and to fix the tolerable and actual pollution levels. Okay, so this is these what kind of standards you will establish for any product design. Number three, countermeasures. Study what the protective or eliminating measures are available for immediate implementation. So this is a countermeasure, but we had already done, what pollution we had already contributed to, how we can now do countermeasure. Number four, environmental awareness. Now this course is one part of environmental awareness. Then when you talk to, as an educated engineer, when you talk to your friends, colleagues, your parents at home, or your other family members, you can tell them what is environmental ethics and why it is important. So you can just spread the awareness through different social media campaigns as well. Whenever most of you are on social media like Facebook and WhatsApp groups, so you can spread awareness regarding environmental. We will do one of the this because now most of you are at home, and it's very hard to go outside and do the clean and green drive, just like we did last time. That was one part of the environmental awareness. But sitting at home using social media as a tool, you can go for the environmental awareness. Study on how to educate the people on environmental practices, issues, and possible remedies. Okay. So as an engineer, as experimenters, they have certain duties towards environmental ethics. So we just to recap, there are four of them important things. Environmental impact assessment, this is number one. Number two, establish standards. Number three, countermeasures. And number four, environmental awareness. And that is the least part, environment. At least you can spread the awareness. Iman ka sabse nichla wala level hai. Okay. So that's the lowest part, but if you do all these four, then it becomes your duty towards environmental ethics. Okay, now due to environment, what kind of disasters? This is important. I've just gone through the internet and found these 6 important things to discuss today. And the disasters that we as humans are causing to the planet Earth. So number one is plastic waste disposal. E-waste. What is e-waste? This is important to know, because now from last 30 to 40 years this has become one of a major problem. E-waste disposal. Industrial waste disposal. From last 100 years we are facing this. Depletion of ozone layer. This is the fourth one. Global warming. And the last one is acid rain. You've heard probably from some people, from some of your friends, and maybe one of your family members about acid rain, but what it actually is and how it is formed. I've got a whole flow diagram to explain, so at the end we'll just go through that. So these are the 6 disasters that humans have contributed to in the environment. Number one is plastic waste disposal, and this is very common. But we have started some countermeasures. As you know, now in many shops, they do not give plastic bags. They started from Islamabad. They really banned the plastic bags, and now in Lahore also this has started. And even in Comsets, our director, Dr. Tahir Naeem, I was talking to him once, and he has emphasized that from now on in Comsets and all the shops and the cafeteria, they will not sell any plastic bags. So they were going to shift their system to paper bags. Although we are always looking for much better solutions, which are because anything you buy or things that you need, you need a bag of some sort. But how these plastic bags can be replaced? So this the number one, the disaster part is plastic waste disposal. In our country, several crores of plastic bottles are used as containers. All the water that you drink whenever you're thirsty, what you do, you go and buy water in what? Plastic bottles. For water and oil, and plastic bags are used to pack different materials ranging from vegetables to gold ornaments. Hardly any of these are recycled, and they're just thrown into the ground. Thrown just like last year when we visited the Defense Road in front of our main gate, and we were just amazed to see so many plastic bags and cups and glasses, all thrown into those sewerage, what you call rain drains, and they were like choked up because of this plastic disaster. So this is one of a major thing, and now we are starting to think that what are we doing to our planet Earth. Okay, the second part, they end up in gutters, just like I told you. All the rain drains are choked up, blocked in front of the Comset's main gate, roadsides and agriculture fields. In all these destinations, they create havoc. The worst still is the burning of plastic materials in streets and camphor. And sometimes when people don't know what to do, they just collect all the plastic. Now this is the most uneducated way of disposing of the plastic. They collect all the plastic and they burn it. Now they're burning it, they're removing it from the street. But what they're doing, they're creating a really big havoc by destroying the ozone layer. Because that thing that when it burns, it goes into the air, and you think now it doesn't exist, but it becomes a part of the invisible air, and then you start breathing that poison that before was on the roadside on some drainage. So this is the most uneducated way of cleaning, when people start burning plastic materials. So worse still is the burning of plastic materials in streets and camphor, along with the plastic cover in temples, since they realize toxic fumes and threaten seriously the air quality. Cities and local administration have to act on this, collect and arrange for recycle through industry. So this is what really they need to do. This is the job of the government, and also the people, the industries, that whenever if they're using any plastic material, they, instead of throwing it out, they should put it in special recycled dustbins where it can be collected and recycled. Okay, so this is one thing. The second is e-waste disposal. The parts of this has become a major issue since last 30 to 40 years. Before that it wasn't a big issue, but now every household has a mobile phone, has a computer, has CDs, has mouse and so many accessories, headphones. So it has become a major issue. E-waste disposal. The parts of computers and electronic devices which have served its useful life present a major environmental issue for all the developing countries. This scrap contains highly toxic elements such as lead, cadmium and mercury. Now you've all studied chemistry, right, in your FSC. You know how dangerous these three are. These three can lead to cancer. And that's why we have so many cancer patients nowadays as compared to before. So lead, cadmium and mercury, this is what they add up. into our environment where we breathe, where we live, where we get food from. So if it goes into the soil, and we're growing in our agriculture soil, and we're growing food from there, it gets mixed into our vegetables and fruits. What we're eating, what we're breathing, everything is being destroyed. Even the radioactive waste will lose 89% of its toxicity after 200 years. That's how long it takes. So you just put one thing now into the atmosphere, you put one thing now into the environment, into the soil, it will take 200 years to go away. By which time it will be no more toxic than some natural minerals in the ground. It will lose 99% of its remaining toxicity over the next 30,000 years. So 89% toxicity is reduced in 200 years, and 99, nearly 99, close to 100% when it's nearly all gone, close to 30,000 years. So I don't know whether we will even live for 30,000 years or not, but this is a hell lot of time. The toxic chemical agents such as mercury, arsenic, and cadmium retain toxicity undiminished forever. But these scraps are illegally imported by unscrupulous agencies to salvage some commercially valuable inputs. Instead of managing on the scrap, unethical organizations sell them to. You can see I have so much text in my slides, but this is I've put all these text. Knowing that you must read from here. I don't know whether you'll probably not go and read book, although I urge you to go and search on the internet and read books related to it. But I wanted most of the text to be placed in my slides, so at least you know all the facts. I just don't want to just look at simple words and just try to rephrase what I'm saying. I wanted you to read through all of it, just like a book. That's why I've put so much text on my slides, okay? So I want you to read through each and every sentence, okay? Instead of spending and managing on the scrap, unethical organizations sell them to countries such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So this is what developing countries are doing. They're buying the scrap from the developed countries like England, US, Europe, and what they're doing, they've become basically a graveyard for the scrap of these modern countries. This is strictly in violation of the Basel Convention of the United Nations Environment Programme, which has banned such activities. A recent report of the British Environment Agency has revealed that the discarded computers, television sets, refrigerators, mobile phones, and electric equipment have been dispatched to India and Pakistan in large quantity for ultimate disposal in the environmentally unacceptable ways and at great risk to the health of the labor. Now, what they are doing, they're saying, recycling, how do we dispose of? We don't have any disposability. Why don't we just sell it to Pakistan and India? They are the developed countries, they'll buy it cheap. So we have become a dustbin for the Europeans and the Americans to sell their e-waste to us. And we very happily just go and buy it and then bring it to Pakistan, and then instead of disposing of, try to utilize some parts of it. Some people I was seeing this video where some people in India and Pakistan, what they do, that they buy cheap computers and laptops and mobile phones and take out the motherboard, and on motherboards, on different parts, there is some part of gold there. That, as you know, you're electrical engineers, you must know that some parts of lining and some joining some chips requires gold wiring and gold etching. So they melt all that plastic and all that thing and throw it in our environment just to get that little bit of that milligram of gold from the motherboard. And that has become a major business in Pakistan and India. Every country needs regulations to define waste measures, to stop illegal imports, and institutional structures to handle safe disposal of domestic. Okay, so e-waste disposal, this is the second disaster. The third one is industrial waste disposal. So I've taken some pictures, these pictures show what our industries are doing. On one part, we want to support our industries, that whatever we want product, we'll make it in our home and then export. But then what we are doing, we're destroying the environment because those industries are not properly regulated by the government and they don't have any plants. They don't have filter plants. So anything they make, all the chemicals that they just dispose of in the drainage and sewage and in the environment. There has been a lot of complaints through the media on chemical plants, leather industries, the brick factories, imported war shipwrecks, pharmaceutical plants, and textile industries. Although these industries are important for our future, but they must also have a filtration plant. This is the third one. The fourth one is depletion of ozone layer. You've probably heard it on TV, watched many videos. The ozone layer protects the entire planet from the ill effects of the ultraviolet radiation and is vital for all living organisms in this world. So it is a cloud, it is a blanket that is protecting us from the ultraviolet rays coming from the sun. If we destroy that blanket, we'll be just all burning to, like burning daily. You walk out, the ultraviolet rays would just kill you. The only thing that is saving you is the ozone layer. And what we are doing with our environment, we are making such e-waste disposal and plastics and all these things, and we are basically destroying our own ozone layer. A man sitting in a cold and feeling the cold and has a blanket just to save his life, and he starts burning his own blanket. This is what we are doing. But it is eaten away by the chlorofluorocarbons, CFC, such as freon emanating from the refrigerators, air conditioners, and arsenal aerosol can spray. So these things have a CFC, which basically eats up the ozone layer. But now the new what engineers are of course contributing in some part. So what they have done that now the new inverter air conditions that are coming, they have much better gas. They have a safe gas. So even if there is some leakage, it doesn't. It's a environment safe gas, and it doesn't eats up the ozone layer. So these are some of the things that we are doing now. This has caused also skin cancer to sunbathers in the Western countries. Further, nitrogen oxide gases were also found to react with the ozone. Apart from engineers, the organization's laws of the countries and local administrations and markets mechanisms are required to take up the concerted efforts to protect the environment. So these are some of the gases that whatever we design, even if we are designing the air conditioners or other refrigerators, we need to design them and use gases that are environment friendly and that do not eat up our own blanket that is protecting us from ultraviolet rays. Okay, the fifth one is global warming. Over the past 30 years, the Earth has warmed by 0.6 degree centigrade. Over the last 100 years, it has warmed by 0.8 centigrade. So 0.2 degrees centigrade it has increased. It is likely to push up temperature by 3 degrees centigrade by 2100. So it's going, like exponentially it's rising, according to NASA's studies. The US administration has accepted the reality of global climate change, which has been associated with stronger hurricanes, severe droughts, intense heat waves, and the melting of polar ice. Greenhouse gases, notably carbon dioxide emitted by motor vehicles and coal fire plants, trap heat like the glass walls of greenhouse, cause the earth to warm up. Delegates from the 6 countries, Australia, China, India, Japan, South Korea and US, met in California in April 2006 for the first working session of the Asia-Pacific Partnership on Clean Development and Climate. These 6 countries account for about half of the world's emission of climate heating greenhouse gases. So global warming is related to the emissions of climate heating greenhouse gases. So when you see that these hurricanes and these floods, they didn't used to exist about 20-30 years ago, or they used to be very rare. Now it's just like every year. Why is it happening? It's happening because of global warming. So you must realize how human beings are tarnishing the planet Earth. Okay, this is now the last one, the 6th one. I told you in the beginning, I will tell you the whole flow of the acid rain, how we produce, how the acid rain is produced. So what happens is that large emissions of sulfur oxide and nitrous oxides are being released into the air from the thermal power stations, okay, using the fossil fuels and several processing industries. You can see this diagram at the bottom right corner, how sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide goes into the air, mixes with H2O. These gases form compounds with water in the air and precipitates as rain or snow on the earth. So it becomes HNO3. Okay, the acid rain in some parts of the world has caused sufficient damage to the fertility of the land and to the human being. So you say, hey, this land used to be very green, and we were growing crops, and now nothing's happening. Where did this drought came from? It came from your industry, because you were burning sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide into the air, and it produced acid rains which destroyed your crops and your land. So this is also an important part. So these were the 6 disasters that we were talking. This next In the next lecture, we'll be talking about the sustainability, the sustainable development. So in today's lecture, it was all about environmental ethics for engineers. In next lecture, which is tomorrow, you can listen to my lecture regarding sustainable development. That is also very important, and in that lecture we'll be talking about the ecology, the economics, and many other things related to the sustainable development, like human-centered ethics, sentient-centered ethics, environment-centered ethics. So and what is sustainability, and what is sustainable development, and what roles engineers play in that. Okay, so before we go there, I want to give you a brief homework. So I want you to briefly explain what do you understand about the following terminologies in your own words. There are 2 metaphors. We would be discussing them in the next lecture, but I want you to just initially, before we start tomorrow's lecture, know what do we mean by search on the internet. Search on the go and read the book. You can search on the book in the environment and sustainability chapter. What do we mean by invisible hand and tragedy of the commons? Okay, so this is your homework that I want you to do. This is worksheet number 4. I want you to do and submit on C Online, and then tomorrow I will discuss in detail what it means, and what is invisible hand, what is tragedy of the commons, what is sustainable development. So all these things we'll be doing in next lecture. Okay, thank you very much. It was nice having you. I hope you understood what is environmental ethics for engineers. Just a first lecture, just to know this was just so that you know the basics, and especially the 6 disasters: the plastic waste disposal, the e-waste disposal, the industrial waste disposal, the depletion of ozone layer, global warming, and acid rain. So these were the 6 disasters I wanted you to know in the beginning, and then gradually we'll know more about environmental ethics as we go along. Okay, take care. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.